There we go. See if we can brighten it up a little bit here. There we are. Okay. Set everything up here. Get everybody ready. Got my computer. Got my water. Okay. Oh, hey, Muddy Louise. Hello, Muddy Louise. Welcome to Level Up Group. Welcome to the webinar. I'm going to give it a few seconds, get some people joining. Let's see what we got here. I wonder if I can see. No. Okay. Bring them on camera. No, I don't want to bring her on camera. But welcome, eller jag kan säga så här till dig i svenska kanske. Välkommen och tack att du vill vara med. Vi ska snacka lite om hur man ska inte vara rädd att misslyckas. Jag kör på engelska. För att jag har ju folk från, alltså de som följer mig på gruppen, de är från alltså överallt. Om du är medlem på gruppen då kan du se, alltså, men Facebook live eller Facebook-grupp Level Up Group, okej? Så då kan du följa mig där på Facebook på Level Up Group, okej? Vi kan börja med det. Men som sagt, jag kör de här webinars varje torsdag klockan 7 på kvällen. Och jag kör dem på engelska på grund av att I got people from everywhere. Germany, Spain, 3-4 countries in Africa, Uganda, Kenya, yeah, you name it, right? So obviously I got to do it in English. Men nu är det bara att du och jag, så då kan jag snacka svenska. Men som sagt, tack och välkommen. Jag hoppas att du kommer få någonting från den här om du vill stanna kvar och genom hela grejen. De här webinars är grejerna som jag gör varje vecka. Och jag försöker ta ett ämne som är viktigt för, alltså, som är liksom viktigt i samhället typ just nu. Inte bara som jag som entreprenör, men allmänt, du vet. Att vara rädd för att misslyckas till exempel. Det är inte bara entreprenörer som join me on camera. Yeah, not right now. We can join later. When I start, because I'm going to start the webinar. So after the webinar, if you want to join, then we can join. Well, I'm not going to bring you on camera yet. I just got to do this first. But so jag pratar mycket om grejerna som händer nu som påverkar människor typ nu idag. Misslyckas rädd att misslyckas. Det är någonting som är jätteviktigt, eller någonting som alla människor pratar om. Eller tänker om, de kanske inte pratar om så mycket, men de tänker om det, va? Att tänka på vad andra tänker, eller bli orolig för vad andra tänker och tycker, va? Det är också en grej som jag pratade om förra veckan. How to manage outward validation or external validation. You know, people who, worried about what other people think, or worried about, the validation that we get from, our titles, our prestige, who we are, blah, 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 right? So there's that. Let's see. It is now, 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm going to wait just a couple of more minutes and see if I can get some people in before I start. Usually I like to start a little early just to get people in, but so far it's just you and my wife. So we're going to talk a bit about it's okay to fail, and we'll get into it. I'm really excited about this. I love doing these webinars. Alltså jag älskar att göra de här. Det är så roligt att hålla på och göra det här varje vecka, varje torsdag klockan 7. Det är så kul att göra. Så jag blir väldigt liksom taggad innan jag ska göra de här. Förra veckan hade jag Jag vet inte. Det var några som kom upp. Och så varje vecka det blir mer och mer folk som kommer in och ser. Så det är bra. Det är bra. Så jag ska ställa till några frågor till er på webbinariet. Och jag vill att ni kan skriva ner i kommentar. Alltså write it down in the comments. The answers to the questions. You know, if you want. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can write them down. Okay? So let's go ahead and give it a few more minutes. 7:01. So, you know, people are, you know, by 7:03 we can go ahead and start. That's what I think. Let me double check here. I got everything set. Ja, som sagt, jag hoppas att du, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. I love doing these. Oh man, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Okay. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, I'm live. I'm waiting on people to come in. Va? I mean, Marie Louise are watching. Hon är här. There we go. Let's see here. Eller Mia heter hon. Mia, om du kan höra mig. Jag tror jag är bra. Hör du mig, Mia? Skriv en kommentar, ja, om du hör mig. Nu Karina här. Hej Karina. Ingen ljud. Hör du mig Karina? Vad fan? Hör ni mig nu eller? Hör ni mig? Hallå? Okej. Jo, ljud för mig. Okej. Marie-Louise eller Mia, hör du mig nu? Ja, sa Karina. Jag hör dig. Hej. Yeah, I'm gonna start. I didn't hear anybody. Marie-Louise, hon är här, eller Mia är här, men jag vet inte om hon hör mig. Right, men okej, skit i det. Nu börjar jag. Vi gör så här, går till den och gör så här. Hey everybody. Welcome to Level Up Group. Welcome to this week's edition of the Mindset Webinar. For those of you that don't know, my name is Drew Murphy. I am the owner and founder of Level Up Coaching and Consulting. I am a mindset and self-worth coach. Okay, and I do these webinars every week, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Stockholm time. All right. So I want to welcome you guys to the webinar. Those of you that follow me, you guys already know how we do it. Those of you that are new, hang out and you will see a great webinar. I'm really excited about this one. I'm always excited about all my webinars, but this one I'm pretty excited about. We're going to talk a little bit about failure and how to handle it. Before we get started, or actually, you know what? I think I'll wait till the end with that. So I'll go ahead and get started. The name of today's webinar is, so when I do my webinars, let me slow down. When I do my webinars, I like to start or use a topic that is very, relevant to today. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world we live in. There's a lot of things happening that affect us, that affect our personal, view of ourselves. There's a lot of things that, whether we want to or not, whether we want to admit it or not, affect how we feel about ourselves, right? Our self-worth, especially when it comes to, social media, just the world in general, people, co-workers, friends, everything else, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. And what I like to do one of my webinars is tackle topics that actually affect us today and talk about things that can actually help us build and be better in our own personal development. Okay, does that make sense? Last week, for example, the webinar that I had last week, I talked about external validation, okay, and what it felt like or what it's like to work with or manage our dependency on external validation. Okay, I think that's a very important thing, especially, like I say, with everything that's going on in the world today and how things are affecting us in ways that we didn't even plan for them to. Today, it's okay to fail. Learning from setbacks, challenges, obstacles, and failure. That's the name of today's webinar. And I think it's very important to talk about it because everybody is, when it comes to failure, no, I don't want to fail. I'm so fail. Failing is the worst thing. Actually, failure is not the worst thing. Giving up or not even starting is the first thing. Okay, but we'll get to that. So in this webinar, I'm going to go through 5 or 6 points. I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to give you guys the bullet points, and then we'll get into them. Number one is why we fail. We'll talk about that. I'll give you guys, I got 3 questions that I want you guys to answer. That's number 1. Number 2, understanding failure. Okay, we'll talk about understanding failure. Then number 3, the common causes of failure. Okay, and then number 4, we'll talk about the emotional and psychological effects or responses to failure. Okay, how we respond and react. And then number 5, we'll talk about the resilience building, like the techniques that you can build to help manage your failure. And then number 6, the strategies for overcoming it. Okay, so that's the agenda. That's the agenda for this evening's webinar. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, why we fail. So this is what I want you to do. I want to ask you guys, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And you can write them down in the comments if you want, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I would appreciate it if you did write them down in the comments. So the question number 1 is, when we talk about why we fail, right? The question number 1 is, why is failure significant? Or is failure significant? Right? I'll say it like this. Failure is significant. Why? Think about that. Write it down in the comments. Why? Why is failure significant? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, why do we, or how, when we fail, how do we stay in the race? Okay? How do we stay in the race? That's number 2. Number 3, when you fail, what do you want to learn today from this situation? Okay? What can you learn from this situation? All right? So that's number 1, why we fail. Let's understand failure. So obviously, just like anything else, when you want to understand something, when you want to manage something or deal with something, an issue, a problem in life or whatever, you have to understand it, right? It's the same thing as like when you go to the doctor. In order for them to treat you or give you a diagnosis, they have to understand the situation, the problem, the disease, whatever, right? So it's the same thing with personal development. We want to first understand what it is we're dealing with so we know how to cope with it. That obviously makes sense, right? So understanding failure. Now, one of the things that I'm going to go through is the common myths or misconceptions or, whatever you want to call it, lies, basically, about failure. But before we get to them, it's very important for me to explain to you that failure is not the opposite of success. People say, oh, what's the opposite of success? Failure. No. That's not true. Failure is part of success. In fact, I would even dare say that failure is a significant part of success. I would even say that in some cases, not all, failure is more important than success in certain ways, right? The failure is more important than the actual success. What I mean by that is that lesson that you learned, right, is far more valuable because that's why you have the success. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I want you to understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it, okay? And being afraid of something that's going to happen anyway makes no sense, right? So you're going to fail. Like, it's going to happen. So prepare yourself. So let's talk about some of the myths or the misconceptions, the lies that we tell ourselves about failure. I've wrote down 4 here. When I put this together this past week, I had a whole bunch of different ideas of how I wanted to do it, but I think I condensed it down into 4 pretty important points here. So 4 misconceptions, lies, myths, whatever you want to call it, about failure. Number 1, failure means I'm not good enough. Bullshit. 100% bullshit. That is not true. Failure means I'm not good enough. There's a lot of people out here that believe that if you fail, you're not good enough. I can't stress this enough. You are good enough exactly as you are. Okay? With all of your faults, with all of your flaws, with all of the goods, the bads, the uglies, everything about you, you are good enough exactly the way you are. Okay? And failure has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Just so you know, okay? It should never, ever affect your self-worth. Who you are and how you feel about you has nothing to do with whether you fail or succeed. All right? So get that BS out of your head. Get that thought out of your head. There's no such thing as you're not good enough because you failed. So that's number 1. Number 2, if I fail, I should quit. That's also not true. Okay, there's quitting and then there's giving up. Right? So basically, if I fail, I should give up is more what people should say instead of quitting. And I'll explain why. Different words have the same meaning, but different. And I'll explain that in a second. But if I fail, I should give up. No. Giving up is failure. Does that make sense? Not even starting, that's failure. Okay? So what do I mean when I say the difference between quitting and giving up? If you are in the process of trying to do something, you have a goal that you're going after and you're trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever the goal is, relationship, business, family, financial, you want to move around, whatever it is you want to do, right? And you come to a point where something happens, you have a setback or, you fail or something happens, right? Listen, quitting. You should quit doing whatever it is you're doing that's not working, right? We'll get into that a little later, but if you're doing something, you have a goal and you're going after your goal, you have a priority list and you're doing the steps and taking things in manageable parts and blah, 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 but something's not working, then you could, whatever it is you're doing, if it's not working, you got to quit what's not working, right? That's not giving up. Giving up says, throw up my hands, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm done doing this, right? Give an example. Business. I use myself as an example. So when I started my business, I was doing things in a certain way and I wasn't getting any results. And I was getting frustrated and I was like, well, I'm doing everything I can. Why is it not working? Why do I not have clients? Why are things, why, right? And then I started realizing that the way I was going, the path or the way I was, the things that I was doing, I thought I was doing something that actually was, going to help me move forward and onward and upward. But in actuality, what I was doing it wasn't working. And it wasn't working because I was working backwards, right? So I had to say, okay, I'm not going to give up coaching. I'm not going to just say, screw it, I'm not coaching anymore. No. So that's give up. I'm not going to give up. But what I am going to do is I'm going to quit doing whatever it is I'm doing that's not working. Obviously, you got to quit doing it. It's not working, right? So that's the difference. So if I fail, I should quit. If I fail, I should give up. No, not true. Number 3, success. This is something that I saw. I don't remember who it was. It's some guy on the internet that talks a lot, and mostly the stuff that comes out of his mouth is bullshit. I forget his name, but he was saying something like, well, successful people never fail. We all know that's not true. Successful people fail just as much as people that we don't see, right? And what is success? When we say successful people, that's like the people that we see, the famous people, the athletes, the entertainers, the super business people, those people that are in the spotlight, right? Oh, they don't fail. Look at them. Yes, they do. They're human. That's common sense. They're human just like us. And they fail more times than you'll ever know. They'll fail more times than you'll ever see, right? Failure is a part of the process. You got to grow. Okay, but we'll get to that. Now, another one, which is very common, and people do think that like this, everyone is watching me. That's also a myth. That's also a lie. Everybody's not watching you. You'll have people that'll say negative things about you, write stuff about you on the internet or whatever, social media, or talk back about you behind your back or whatever. Of course, you got people that's going to, talk shit about you. That's just life, right? But everyone is not really watching you. Like, if I'm honest with you, people don't really care. Like, they don't have, listen, people got their own thing going. They're more focused on themselves and trying to do whatever it is they got to do for them, or whatever shit their own life is whatever. So they're dealing with that. They're not too busy watching you. They'll give you the illusion that they're watching you because they'll say something every once in a while, or you'll hear a comment here and there. But people aren't glued to watching you, man. They got their own stuff going. Okay? So that's a myth. That's not true. So now we understand that there are some myths about failures. Now, these myths about failures, these lies, when we feed into them, what happens? We feed into them, we act accordingly, and then that is what causes us to fail. That is what causes us to have a setback in certain ways, right? So what I want to talk about is some of the common causes of failure. Some of the things, I got a few down here, I want to go through them. But there's a lot of things that we do ourselves, okay, that can cause us not to make it, and I'm not talking about obstacles outside of our control, which is one of them, and we'll get to that. But I'm talking about some of the things that we actually do ourselves that we can think about not doing, or we can think about before we act and not do these things, and these things will help keep us from failing. Okay, does that make sense? So let's go to number 1. Lack of planning and preparation. So obviously, if you have a goal, if you have a plan, if you have an agenda, an objective in life, whatever, you have to plan and you have to prepare. Lack of planning, lack of preparation will lead to failure. That's common sense, right? Don't be nonchalant with your planning. Don't just, good enough won't do. Okay? When you're planning, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about personal development and growth and trying to be the best version of yourself, okay? These are stepping stones that will help you get there, right? So I'm talking about that specifically, but this can also be used, generally speaking, in life in general with certain, just in your own personal life, other things, not just personal development. But I want to stick on the personal development thing because that's what we're talking about, right? So when you're working on your personal development, you're trying to become the best version of yourself, understand that good enough won't do. Plan properly. Prepare properly. Don't be nonchalant. Don't just, no. what steps do I need to take in order for me to get to the next level? Okay, write down a priority sheet. What I tell my clients, make a priority list. What are the priorities, the things that need to be, the steps that need to be taken first and foremost, and then take it accordingly, break it down into smaller parts, things like that. We'll get to that, all right? So that's lack of planning. That's one reason that we fail, because we don't plan and we don't prepare properly, okay? So learn how to plan and learn how to prepare properly. That's number one. Number two, fear of failure. Being afraid to step out. That's also a cause of failure. If you're afraid, if you're acting out of fear, whatever it is your goal is, whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you're trying to achieve or obtain in your personal life, with personal development or just in life in general, if you act out of fear, obviously you're acting from a space of, I'm not sure if this is going to work. I don't know if I really should do this. I don't believe enough in myself, blah, blah, blah. Obviously you're going to fail, right? Obviously you're setting yourself up for it, right? If you, for example, starting my own business, worried about whether or not I'm going to get clients, worried about how it's going to work, worried about whether or not I can really do this. Well, if you have those thoughts in your mind, you're already, as the old saying goes, you've already shot yourself in the foot. Okay, so lack of planning and preparation and acting out of fear are definitely two things that will definitely cause your failure. Now let's go to number three, poor decision making. That goes hand in hand with preparation. Okay, when I say poor decision making, what decisions? And okay, so think like this. Obviously, it goes hand in hand with your planning and your preparation, like I said. But what mental space are you in when you're making these decisions? Okay, poor decision making comes from what? A poor mental space. So what state are you in? What mindset are you in when you have to make these decisions in order for your, for your future or for your development or for you to try to get to the next level or whatever? What decisions are you making? And how's your thought process during these decisions? Obviously, if you don't have a growth mindset, if you're working off of a fixed mindset, then you are going to make poor decisions, and those poor decisions are going to affect the outcome. That's common sense. I don't think we need to go too deep into that, right? We understand. So it's the mindset. Number four, lack of effort and persistence. Don't be lazy. Okay, what they say, the only thing comes to a sleeper is a dream. There's another saying, something, why you letting grass grow under your feet, right? So don't be lazy. Be active. Take action. Okay, if you just sit around, obviously that's setting yourself up to fail, right? You have all these things you need to do and you're not doing them, right? You're making poor decisions. You're afraid, and you're not planning properly. Then lack of effort and motivation is going to also cause you to fail. It's very simple. Number five. Now, there are also another cause of failure are external factors. There are things that happen outside of our control, like, your economy, a personal crisis, something comes up with your situation with a loved one or your job, or, a business deal falls through or whatever. There are things that happen in life, right? Because life will life, because that's what life does, right? So when it comes to these types of situations, my advice to you is manage what you can control, okay? Don't try to take on too much. A lot of us try to control things that are absolutely outside of our control, and then that's when we get, the anxiety, that's when we have the frustration, and that's when the fear and all the other poor decision making and everything else comes in, because we're trying to control too much. Stop trying to control everything, okay? Don't be overly controlling. Slow down and manage what you can, okay? Manage what you can control. Everything else will work itself out. Does that make sense? Okay, now we're talking about a couple more things here. Inactive or ineffective communication. That is also a very big cause of failure. Be very clear with your intentions. And I'm not talking about your intentions to other people. Sure, you should be very clear when you have intentions, when you're communicating to other people. But communication to yourself. Be very clear. Be very specific as to what your objective and what your goal is. whatever it is. Be very clear. The universe does not work in vague. You can't be vague about it. You can't be kind of, sort of, yeah, I know. No, be very specific in your communication. Because if you're not communicating clearly, then obviously, what? Misunderstandings arise, right? So if you're not being clear to yourself, then obviously you can't be clear to other people. And then misunderstandings and so on and so forth. So be very clear with your communication. Very, very, very clear with your intentions. Number 7, and we said this a little bit earlier, fixed mindset. So that will definitely be a cause of failure. Reverse your mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So, okay. And then number 8 is lack of accountability, which is also a part of the fixed mindset. So we can put these two together. So a fixed mindset will be, for example, lack of adaptability. I didn't say accountability, adaptability. So a fixed mindset is someone that, if we don't know the difference, I'll give it to you real quick. A fixed mindset is someone who doesn't adapt, who's not flexible, who's not open to change, who doesn't see the opportunities in front of them because they're so busy thinking that it should go this way, right? You have to reverse that to a growth mindset. Be open to new opportunities. Be open to things that, you have to adapt. Everything's not going to go exactly 100% the way you want it to. That's not how it works. Things will happen. Like I said, life, external factors. Life will life. Things will happen. So you have to be able to adapt. So for an example of this whole thing and what that really means and how to do that, I'll put it in perspective for you. So there's a story about it. This guy told me this analogy. And he's like, okay, so imagine that you're walking, we're talking about adopting a growth mindset, okay? That will help you with your failure instead of, that will help keep you from failing. Imagine you're walking through the forest or a desert, whatever, right? You're walking through and you're on a path and this is where you're going. You know where you're going, right? So that's the idea of your goal. You know where you're going and you're on the path, but all of a sudden you come to this cliff, right? This long, wide cliff. It's so you can't jump over it, okay? You can't go down into the cliff and climb back up. It's too wide and it's too deep. So how do you get over it, right? How do you get over it? Well, here's the thing. If you're walking towards that cliff and you have these blinders on, right, and you get there, all you see is how far it is from where you are to where you need to be and how deep it is so that you can't climb down and up over it again and you can't jump over it. That's all you see. You can't see anything else. But if you adopt a growth mindset, right, and you understand that it's necessary to be open, necessary to be flexible, necessary to maybe adapt, do something different, then all of a sudden this blinder will fall. And then you look to the left and you go, oh, there's a bridge for people to walk over. So I can walk over that bridge. Okay, I can't because I can't. Okay, so that's one. Okay, that's one option. That's one option, right? Or then when you drop this blinder on this blinder and you turn to the left, then you realize there's a bridge on this side, but you can actually drive. Or there's a car and there's people waiting for you to get in and they can drive you across the bridge. So now you got options, right? Now you got opportunities. You can walk or you have the opportunity for someone to drive you across the bridge. Either way, you're going to get on the other side. Does that make sense? So that's adapting the growth mindset. The fixed mindset, you will fail every time because that's not, you have to learn how to be, like I say, flexible and open and willing to, bend a little and figure things out. What else can I do? Okay, well, because I usually do that, but that's not working. So I can't do it. Oh, let's try this. Oh, let's try that. Does that make sense? So let's move up. We said lack of adaptability. Let's talk about overconfidence and complacency. So accepting the whole complacency basically means you're comfortable with settling for 87% when you went for when you went for 100, right? And then overconfidence. Obviously, if you're overconfident, you're not planning properly. If you're overconfident, you're cocky. Yeah, I got this. I know how to do this. I don't need to research. I don't need to do any of these things. I just need to go, right? And then you fail. Oh, I don't need to become certified. I don't need to, take these classes. I know how to cook. I've been cooking since I was a little kid. I don't need to become a chef to work at a restaurant or own my own place and have a mission. You're going to fail. Okay? You gotta, being overconfident will definitely limit your abilities and limit your options and definitely put you in a small bubble where you will constantly fail. Okay, so there's that. Then we have the last one, which is really important, which is a lack of accountability. Listen, out of all of these 9 that we talked about, okay, planning and preparation, fear of failure, poor decision making, lack of effort or persistence, external factors, ineffective communication, a fixed mindset, lack of adaptability, and overconfidence and complacency. Out of all of those that we talked about, the only one that is not on you is number, what? What number was it? Number 5, external factors. So besides the external factors, besides all of the outside stuff, all of this stuff that we talked about is on you. Okay? Lack of accountability is definitely what you have to own it. No one is to blame for you but you. No one is to blame for your decisions that you made but you. You were overconfident and you failed, that's on you. You didn't adapt, that's on you. You weren't clear in your communication, you lacked effort, you made poor decisions, you acted out in fear, you didn't plan properly, that's on you. Now, I'm not saying that to beat up on you or for you to think that, think down on yourself or smack yourself around. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you have to be accountable, okay? When you have these setbacks that are caused by your own actions, own it. It's okay. Please don't beat up on yourself. Use compassion. Be kind to yourself. Talk to yourself as if you would talk to a good friend. Talk to yourself like you would want a good friend to talk to you when you're going through it, right? When you're going through it, you want someone to listen to you, to hear you, to have compassion, to care about you, to tell you the truth, but to do so in a kind way. Does that make sense? So do the same for yourself, but own it. Okay, I messed up. I really, I messed up. Okay, I messed up. Now, I didn't plan properly. That's fine. Now you own it. But now you move forward. What do I do now? Okay, we'll get to, that part. But how do I, okay, now I know. Does that make sense? All right. So now we're going to get to the good stuff in a second. But before we do that, I want to give you some of the emotional and psychological responses to failure. So when we go through all of these things, we have all of these different causes. We fell into the myth of failure, and because we fell into the myth, these are the causes, and we've acted it out. How does that make us feel? What happens emotionally? What happens psychologically? Okay, and then I'll tell you how to deal with that. So let's talk about emotional first. Emotional responses. If I were to ask you what are some of the emotional responses of failure, what would you say? What would you say are some of the emotional responses? Okay, I'll give you a few. Obviously, disappointment, sadness, frustration, anger, shame, embarrassment, fear, anxiety, hopelessness, depression, on and on and on and on, right? So, usually when we fail, we fall into that deep spiral of negativity, of negative energy, how we feel about ourselves, so on and so forth, right? That's how we feel emotionally. Psychologically, what happens? Psychologically, what happens when we fail? Well, negative self-talk. To me, I would say number 1 is negative self-talk. That would be the number 1 thing. If we, when you fail, like when I try something and it doesn't work and I get into a negative spiral, or I start, I allow the negativity to kick in, the first thing is negative self-talk. Why would you do that? Why would you even try? What is wrong with you? Who do you think you are? You shouldn't even have attempted that. What are you, stupid? Like, come on, man. That's why you failed. You're supposed to. You know, you hear what I'm saying, that negative, you know better than that. You should never even think about trying that. That's not for you. It's not meant for you. You're not supposed to have that. Why are you trying to get something? You understand? So that's the negative self-talk. Number 2 would be what they call imposter syndrome. You know, you're not even supposed to be here. You know, that kind of thing, right? Or what they call perfectionism paralysis. So when you try something and you fail, in your mind, you're like, it's supposed to be perfect, but it wasn't. So all of a sudden now it's perfect. It failed. I'm frozen. I can't do anything. I can't move. I can't correct it. I can't go back. I can't go forward. It was supposed to be perfect and it didn't get perfect, so now I'm stuck. Perfectionism paralysis. Then they have one called cognitive distortion. That's basically irrational and, what would you say, sort of biased ways of thinking. For example, all or nothing thought process, right? Well, if I can't do it, if it all didn't work this way, if it ain't all good, then it's going to be all bad. Does that, you know what I'm saying? If it, all or nothing, and I'm not saying all or nothing in the other context. What I mean is that, when I fail, I should have went all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom. You know what I mean? And then the last one would be, psychological reaction would be loss of motivation, obviously. Now, I would say the way they wrote this, when I was doing my research, and I took a couple of these from, I would put loss of motivation second to negative self-talk. Because negative self-talk, then obviously if you're talking negative to yourself, you lose the motivation, right? Then all these other things will come in. That's how I would say it. But anyway, so now we understand not only failure and the fact that it is not the opposite of success, but part of it. Okay, a very important part. Okay, we're going to get into why. We also understand the myths, the lies, the misconceptions of failure, and falling into them. We understand when we fall into them, what causes us to fail. Okay, we talked about that, ineffective communication, poor decision making. We talked about those things, right? And now we also talked about how it makes us feel and how we react to how we feel based on our emotional and psychological responses. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to give you some tips as to how to manage that. Okay, we fully understand fear as it pertains to us, our failure. We fully understand, okay, what causes failure and everything else like that. So how do we deal with it? Okay, how do we deal with it? Well, what I want to do is I want to give you some resilience building techniques, some strategies to help build your resilience, your keep goingness, if you want to make it a little more easier to understand, that will help you manage your failure. Because failure, there's no cure for failure, obviously, right? But you can manage it. When something happens, you can manage how you handle the situation. Okay, so I've got 6. When I was putting this together, I had like 15 or 20 different points, but I narrowed it down to 5. And then the 6th one, I was like, no, I kind of have to have that too. So I narrowed it down to 6, and we're going to talk about these 6 tips or techniques or strategies or whatever you want to call it that will help you manage your failure. Number 1, shift your mindset. Okay? Shift your mindset. Now, we talked about that earlier, okay, when we were up here talking about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. We mentioned that earlier. You gotta change the way you think about failure. You gotta change the way you think about yourself. So, embrace growth mindset, a growth mindset, and reframe negative thoughts. So, okay, this is something that I had to work on myself personally as a human being, just me, right? Not just building my business and becoming an entrepreneur and that kind of thing, but just in general of my own personal self-development or personal development. I really had to work on the growth mindset. And I'm wondering if I should go through this now or if I should give you guys a couple of more tips. Yeah, I'll go through this now. So, embrace a growth mindset, reframe negative thoughts. Now, when I started really doing work on myself, okay, on who I am and how I really feel about me, right? I had to really think about those negative thoughts, that negative self-talk. And I really had to do what I call DIW, deep inner work, or you can call it shadow work, or whatever you want to call it. But I really had to go deep down into who I am and where those thoughts come from. Okay. A lot of times these thoughts come from, our subconscious, from things that happen. Maybe it's trauma, maybe it's just, fear. Maybe it's something that someone external, like someone has said it to you, whatever, right? So the negative self-talk thing, I had to really dig deep when I started my business. And I really had to dig deep and go, where do these thoughts come from? Okay. Why do I think these thoughts? So what you do is, when you have a negative thought about yourself, negative self-talk, and this is growth mindset. This is what I mean when I say growth mindset. You have the thought, it comes in. Now, because I've trained myself so much within myself, it's just like a muscle. I've trained myself, so now I know when those thoughts come, how to react. Now, as soon as they come, I catch it. And hey, why am I thinking that way? Right? Now, this is going to take time. It is a sprint. No, it is a marathon. Okay? It is not a sprint. It is a marathon, not a sprint. I will be saying that throughout the course of this whole talk, because I think it's important for people to understand that. Everybody wants it to happen so quickly. Take your time. Okay? It is a marathon, not a sprint, and be kind to yourself. But in the beginning, I would have these negative thoughts, and I would sit in them, and I would soak in them, and they would just consume me, and they would allow me, the actions that I took were from that place. Does that make sense? So when I started really working on myself, I was able to train my mind and my thoughts and myself. I was able to train myself to go, hey, you know what? As soon as those thoughts come, let's pretend like it's a hotel, right? So in a hotel, you go away for the weekend, 4 days, whatever, a week or whatever. You disappear traveling by the beach or wherever, Mallorca, wherever you go. At 12 o'clock on Sunday, I don't care how long you've been there, at 12 o'clock on Sunday is checkout time, right? Or 2 o'clock or whatever it is, right? There's a time where you stayed at that hotel, you had a great time, you had champagne and, strawberries, and you went to the beach and did all these excursions and whatever you did. But now it's 12 o'clock. It's time to get out of that hotel. You got to check out, right? Same thing with your negative thoughts. Give it a checkout time, because you're going to have negative thoughts that come in, and maybe they consume you. Maybe you start thinking about trauma or things that happened to you, or things that people did to you, or something someone said to you, or whatever. And you can't just dismiss it right away, right? We're not robots. So you go, okay, I'm feeling bad about this thing. Okay, sit in it, but give it a time. After that time, checkout time. You cannot continue in that negative spiral, because you got to get back up. It's called personal development. Development means you move forward, right? Not stay still, and definitely not move backwards. Okay. So when I started learning that and started really trying to implement that way of thinking, especially when it comes to negative thinking or negative thoughts about myself, I was able to train myself, train my brain, train the way I thought, train my mindset to catch those thoughts very, very quickly. And now when I catch them, not all the time, obviously I'm human, but most of the time when I have those negative thoughts, I go, hey, that's a negative thought. And then what do? Reframe it. What does that mean? Think the opposite. Oh, Andrew, you're not supposed to start this business. Why would you start a business? Why would you want to coach? Who's going to listen to you? No one cares about what you got to say. And it's too late. The market is saturated. So-and-so makes 10 million a year. You're not ever going to be, all this negative shit, right? Instead, I go, no, that's not true. That's the ego trying to keep you in the comfort zone where you're comfortable, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone is scary. The ego doesn't like scary, right? So I go, no, that's not true. I am popular. People do want to hear what I have to say. I do have a good service to provide to people, and I do come from a genuine space of trying to help people, right? I do have something to offer. And you understand what I'm saying? Everything negative that you said to me, I say to myself the opposite. This is the negative you. This is the positive you, right? Turn it on its head, okay? That is a tool that I know you can't, listen, I know it's easier said than done. Trust me. Trust me, trust me, trust me. I know it's easier said than done. And there are going to be days where, like I say, you're not going to be able to do that right away. That's when you sit in it and you give yourself time and compassion, and then you give yourself a checkout time for those things to check out. Okay? So it's not going to be something that you can just do right away. I understand that. But it is definitely a tool that I'm giving you that you can learn how to use, and it will definitely change your life. Your mindset is the way you think is so powerful. It controls everything. It can change everything just by the way you're thinking. Trust me, I know. Okay? So that's number one. Shift your mindset. Let's move on. We got a couple of more, and I really want to get through them. So, number two, develop emotional strength. Now, how do you develop emotional strength? You manage stress. Okay? How do you manage stress? There's so many different ways we can talk about it. I think I did a webinar on stress. One of the things that a couple of things. Number one, remember to break your goals down into small, manageable parts. We talked about that earlier when we were talking about preparation. Write a priority list. It's what I tell my clients. You know, I said this earlier. Write down a priority list of things that are important and break it down into small, manageable parts. What can I do today? Or what, 2, 3, whatever, 5 things can I do today, right now, to get me to where it is I'm trying to go, right? To get me to my goal. Okay, so that's the first thing. Break it down. Take your time. Don't try to eat the whole steak at once. Cut it up into bite-sized pieces and enjoy it, right? It's like I give you the example of when you go out, like say me and my wife go to restaurants. One of my favorite things to eat is pasta. I love pasta. So let's say I get, pasta with lobster fettuccine, let's just say. I can't eat the whole, even though I love that, I can't eat the whole bowl by myself or like at one time, right? I got to eat it a little bit at a time. Then I have the salad. Then I have some wine. Then I have some bread. The ambiance of the restaurant, the conversation with my wife. How does yours taste? Oh, is it good? Blah, blah, blah. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with your goal. It's the same thing with trying to manage stress, and just break things down into small, manageable parts and enjoy the process. Like I said, I'm enjoying the wine. I'm enjoying being here, the time with my wife. We're talking, we're laughing, we're looking at the people, whatever. That's enjoying the process, right? So enjoy the process of breaking it down into small, manageable parts. Okay, that will help you with your stress. Also, gratitude. Gratitude is your attitude. Now, I know that doesn't make sense, but listen, the more you practice gratitude, the deeper your emotional strength will become and the less stress you will have. The reason is because when you look around you and you see, now I'm not talking about what you have as far as your house and your car and your clothes, and I'm not talking about the material shit. I'm talking about go deep with your gratitude, right? I am grateful for the fact that I have the opportunity to share this valuable information with other people. I'm grateful for the fact that I've actually been able to learn this information and learn these things, learn these tools, learn these techniques, and implement, not just learn them, but implement them into my own personal life, apply them into how I do, not just my coaching, but how I live my life. I'm grateful for that, right? So when you start seeing gratitude as your attitude, as they say, then everything else starts to look completely different. You're not so stressed out. You're happy with what's going on around. I'm not saying being complacent. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying being grateful and look at everything from a gratitude viewpoint, and that will help you manage, that will help you slow down, and that will definitely help you with your emotional strength. Okay? And then you'll be able to break things down into smaller parts. You'll be able to understand that this is the goal, this is where I am, and these are the things I need to be. So use gratitude. All right? So that's developing emotional strength. Number 3, build a strong support system. Listen, and this is one I really can't stress enough. Surround yourself with good people. This is how you manage dealing with failure, building resilience against failure. Okay? Remember what we're talking about. Surround yourself with the right people. Okay? All the negative people, if it's negative, listen, negative people, when you're trying to develop and, become a better version of yourself, you're working on your personal development, you're going to have people that'll talk about you. They're going to say negative things about you. Oh, look at you. Why would you try that? Who you think you are? Blah, 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 blah. Right? And then when you start moving forward, oh, look at you. Okay, I see you. Huh. Ah, man, that's all right. That's all right. And then when you finally get to where you want to be, you know what? I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. You're going to have these people, right? Negative people, get them out of your life. Now, when I say build a strong support system, I'm talking about mentors, people that you can look to, that you can be inspired by, people that motivate you to do better, okay, with positivity. Cut those negative people out of your life. Trust me. And somebody was like, well, how do I deal with negative people in my life that I can't get rid of? I had to get rid of a lot of people, even family members, out of my life. Not, I don't hate you, I hate you, I don't want to talk to you no more. It's not like that. It's just that I had to, because I was trying to grow and they were staying right here. And they want you to stay right here with them. What do they say? Misery loves company. Okay, so no, I'm not trying to be miserable. I'm trying to move up. So I had to let them go. And then somebody was like, well, when you talk about that, there's a lot of people out here who have people in their life that they can't just, get rid of. How do you handle that? So an old man told me, every time I say this, I can't remember who the old man was. But the old man told me, he said, look, he said, when you got people like that in your life that you can't get rid of, or when I say get rid of, you can't really just eliminate them out of your life like that. But they're negative and they're toxic and they're, narcissistic and evil and just hateful and whatever else. He said, do yourself a favor. He said, don't go as often and don't stay as long. Sounds very simple, right? Sounds like elementary simple. But I was like, yo, that makes sense. Don't go as often and don't stay as long. Okay, so what happens with that? Well, when you're building and you're growing and you're developing and trying to be the better version of yourself, what happens is these people that are negative, whether they can't be, X'd out of your life or whatever, the communication, the bond that you have with them is going to be less and less. It's going to be weaker and weaker. It's not going to be as strong as it used to be. You'll drift apart. You'll find yourself drifting apart. Like you say, you won't call them as often. You won't go over there and see them as often. They won't come see you as often because you're growing. Some things cancel themselves out. Some things take care of themselves, right? So there's that. So develop healthy habits, obviously exercise, mindfulness, goal setting. And then, of course, one of the things I do want to say is accept and adapt. Let go of perfectionism, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Listen, how can I say this? So embrace the journey, okay? Embrace what it is you're doing, what you're trying to do, okay? Instead of the results, okay? Or, you know what I mean? The process, right? Embrace the process, not just the results, all right? And celebrate your progress, okay? Celebrate your progress and build from where you are. Don't try to look over and see, no, where am I? I'm right here. Where do I need to go? There. What do I need to do to get there? Remember when we said earlier about small, measurable parts, taking your time? Build from where you are, okay? Accept and adapt. You got to adapt. Growth mindset. We talked about that earlier. Because if you don't adapt, you're going to miss opportunities. If you don't adapt, you're going to be stuck, and whatever it is you're doing is going to be obsolete. And you're going to continue to fail because you're not seeing the possibilities. Remember, we talked about that. The blinders, the walk bridge on this side, the car ride on that side. We talked about that, right? So now we've talked about how to build a strong resilience. And I gave you some techniques now. I gave you some tools on how to manage your failure, right? Gave you some, we talked about building a strong support system. We talked about developing emotional strength. Shifting your mindset, number one, right? Adapt. We just talked about that. Developing habits. We talked about all these things about. So these are the tools. These are the strategies that you can use to help you manage your failure. Okay, manage failure and manage so that you don't slip into these other behaviors that cause failure, right? So now you have a question. You say, okay, well, I have these tools. I have these techniques that manage to keep me from failing, to keep me from falling into that failing or those behaviors that cause failure. I'm developing emotional strength. I'm shifting my mindset. I'm building strong support system. I've strengthened my problem solving skills. You know, I've learned how to analyze failure and create a plan B. I've done all of these things, but I failed anyway. Now what? You know, I made a mistake anyway. I had an obstacle or a setback or this thing happened anyway. Now what? What do I do? So these are strategies for overcoming your failure, because you're going to fail, right? So what I first wanted to give you was how to manage it and what to do to keep from falling into those things. But as life will have it, you're going to fall anyway, right? Okay, so what do you do? So now you got some strategies. I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome your failure, okay? Because like I said, it's going to happen. First of all, don't be afraid. It's going to happen. We all fail. We're human. It's okay. And it's a learning process. I keep saying this. It is a learning process. Use it as a tool to learn, an opportunity to learn. Okay, what can I do? What should I do? Where can I turn? You know, what steps can I make? You know, what plan can I make instead? So on and so forth. Adaptability. Remember, growth mindset. Okay, I keep saying that. And also, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Give yourself time and be kind to yourself. So, what strategies do we have for overcoming failure? Well, there's a few. And I wrote down, like I said, when I put this together, usually when I put these webinars together, I usually have like a long list of different points, because when I do my research and I go through, some of my old webinars and maybe some new information on the internet or whatever, I put together and I have like a 10-page, now maybe not 10-page, but I have a long list of different things. So I have to condense them down, because I don't want to sit here and talk to you guys for 6 hours. You guys are not going to sit here for 6 hours. So I got to break it down. So what I did was I tried to break them down to the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 of the ones that I thought were the most important. Okay, strategies that help you, okay, to overcome failure. So how do I overcome failure after I've done all this stuff that you told me to, Andrew, and I still failed? What do I do? Number 1, acknowledge and accept. All right, that's number 1. Acknowledge and accept it. I said it from the beginning of this webinar. Failure is going to happen. Okay? Accept it. Whether you accept it, whether you acknowledge it, whether you believe it or not, it is going to happen. No matter what. And I'm not just talking to entrepreneurs. I'm talking to everybody in general who's working, not just working on their personal development, but people in general, in health, in life, right? You're going to fail. It is going to happen. So accept it and acknowledge it. That's the first step, okay? Failure is a learning opportunity. I just said that 2 minutes ago. It is a learning. Accept it and acknowledge it as a learning opportunity, okay? Stop saying I failed, I should quit. Stop saying I failed, I'm not good enough, right? Stop saying everybody's watching me. What are they going to say? Who cares? You're going to fail. Acknowledge it and learn from it. Simple, 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 simple. Learn from your mistakes. Okay, so that's number 1, acknowledging and accept. Number 2, analyze what went wrong. Okay, so I failed. I did all these things, I developed these habits, emotional strength and, accept and adapt and blah, 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 but I still failed. Okay, what happened? What went wrong? What can I do? What sort of plan can I make next? Okay, and when I say acknowledge what went wrong, do so without self-blame. Be kind to yourself. Now, I'm not, like I said earlier, though, you don't need to be smacking yourself around, because that's not going to produce anything positive. Jumping all over yourself, being mean to yourself, negative self-talk is only going to lead you down that negative spiral. Okay, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop. Like I said earlier, develop, it means moving forward, not staying still and not moving backwards. So reflect without self-blame. Okay, a mistake happened, an obstacle came in my way, and I reacted and did it the wrong way, or I didn't, handle the situation the way I should have, whatever. Okay? Reflect. What can I learn from that? What happened? How can I do it differently? That's that. And then now we have adjust and adapt. So now I know what I did wrong, or, what happened, because I analyzed it. I've accepted it. So now I have to adjust and adapt. Use new strategies. What a new approach. Because this is the thing I said earlier about quitting, right? Quit doing what's not working. if it's not working and you keep failing, then obviously you need to quit doing it, right? So use a new strategy. Try something different. Try plan B, okay? Adjust and adapt. Now, you're only, like I said earlier, and I'll say it again, you're only going to get that if you have the growth mindset. You understand? You got to have that growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Now, after you've done all that, there's a couple other things I want to tell you before I let you go. And number one is seek feedback and support. Learn from other people. Learn from other people's experiences, people that you admire, people that you look up to. Learn from their experiences. Learn from their stories, okay? And seek mentors and people that are on the same planet or the same level as you. People who are interested in personal development, people who are interested in growing, people who are interested in positivity and moving forward, not people who are stagnant and stay still and just don't move, or people that are negative. Get away from those people. Surround yourself. Seek feedback and support means surround yourself with positive people, people that are interested in positivity and wanting to do better, right? If you surround yourself with people like that, you'll be held accountable to do better. You'll be motivated and inspired to push forward too. People who are on that level push other people to move forward. You're pushing each other. Okay, does that make sense? Find an accountability partner, someone that's going to hold you accountable for your actions. Okay, and that will motivate you to continue to push forward and move and be better. Now, the last thing I want to tell you before I let you guys go is something we said earlier, but I want to say, after you've done all of this and after you've, we talked about all of the, the strategies and techniques and everything, shifting your mindset and everything else like that, take action. Okay, when I say take action, small steps towards progress rebuild confidence. Small steps towards progress rebuilds confidence. Again, I said it earlier, don't try to eat it all at once, right? Small steps. What can I do today? What can I do today? What steps can I take today, right now? Not now, but right now, that I can do to get me further towards my goal, okay? Take action. A lot of times people don't take action because they feel like the action that they need to take is this big, when in actuality, an action this big can lead to you getting way further than you thought. If you take small, focused actions, you'll get a lot more done than trying to do it all at once. This whole multitasking and you're going to get overwhelmed. That's what happens when you look at something and you say, oh, it's this big. You get overwhelmed. And then fear comes in, doubt comes in, anxiety and worry, frustration, anger. Here we go. Remember? That's not where we want to go. So to avoid that, what do? Take small, manageable parts, what you can manage, okay? But take the action. Don't just sit on you got to take action, okay? And then when you take the small action and you see how easy it is or how you're able to, manage that and achieve that, that will give you motivation. You're like, oh, shit, I did it. Hey, well, what else can I do? I came through with this situation, so what's next, right? Instead of taking it all on at once and then failing and feeling shitty and sorry for yourself, all right? So, in closing, remember, I said it earlier and I've said it throughout the whole webinar. Failure is going to happen, okay? It is just as much a part of life as success and just as necessary. So once we know this, we can prepare ourselves for any setback, and with a growth mindset, we can use the setback as a learning opportunity and not just focus on the problem or the setback or the failure or the obstacle or whatever you want to call it. All right. Now, I said it before, I'll say it again. This, as with all the strategies of personal development, is easier said than done. I understand that. And you're not going to be, where you want to be tomorrow. It's going to take time. Have compassion and be kind to yourself. Again, marathon, not sprint. Okay? This is a marathon. And enjoy the process, not just the result. Now, enjoy the process. We talked about that earlier with the restaurant. Remember? You're at the restaurant. You can't eat the whole steak at once. Eat it piece by piece. Enjoy it. Enjoy the view. Enjoy the company. Enjoy the wine, right? Same thing with the process of trying to build and become a better person. Enjoy that process, Okay, enjoy the fact that you celebrate your small wins. That's how you enjoy the process. Celebrate the small wins. Oh, I was able to do that. I wanted to go to the gym and I've been really doing bad at going to the gym, but I actually went to the gym today. That's a small win. Accept that. That's enjoying the process, right? It's the same thing as being at the restaurant, enjoying the view. Enjoy that. Like, embrace that, okay? And with that mindset, you will be more adapted to handling failure and setbacks whenever they come up. Because not if they come up, when they come up. All right. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. I really, really, really enjoyed this. As I say, I'm like a kid in a candy store when it's time to do these webinars. I do them every Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live in the Level Up group. So I need you guys to do me a favor. Spread the word. Tell people about these. Tell people about this. Tell them to come join the group. I'm trying to build my group so I can use your help. Tell everybody if you enjoyed this and this is something that you got something out of. Spread the word. Tell everybody else about it because I really want to build this group. I really enjoy, and I really want to spread this message to other people, not just a few people. I really want to get it out there. Okay, so those of you that are watching that maybe, let's say you're interested in my coaching. And you want to know more about what I do, how I do it, if I can do it for you, if it'll work for you, whatever, if we're even a match, whatever, right? If that's the case, then you hit me up. You could even hit me up here on, Facebook, or you can email me at levelupcc065@gmail.com. I put the email address on here, and you can email me. We'll take contact and then we'll have a 1 hour meeting. Usually I do my meetings with through WhatsApp so that we can, see each other face to face, and you call me. This is free. Call me up. We'll have a meeting about an hour, 45 minutes. You tell me what it is you're interested in as far as your goals and your development and how you want to build and what it is you need, your strategies, some of the things you're struggling with or whatever else like that. Right. And then I tell you what I do, again, how I do it. And then we'll figure out whether or not I can do it for you. You want to know what the programs are, how much they cost, how long they are, whatever else. We'll get through all of that through that conversation. And like I said, if we're a match, then we can go ahead and get you started on working on your personal development. So there's the sales pitch. Listen, guys, I really enjoy this. I really had a great time doing this. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. And again, spread the word. Tell everybody about it. And next week, next week's Thursday, I have something I need to take care of, but I'm going to definitely see if I can switch some things around so that I can continue to do this. I want to be able to consistently do it every Thursday at 7 p.m. I've been doing it like that for a few months now, and, consistency is key. So I really enjoy it. Anyway, you guys take care of yourselves. Have a great evening. The weekend is coming up, and so enjoy your weekend and don't work too hard. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Have a good evening.